Hello and welcome back for another episode on my YouTube. Today I'm here with the one and only Darko, and we are going to look at Kiro Crew, and we're going to answer all of the hard questions that you guys might have. So if we don't get to the hard questions that I've prepared with some other people, let me know and we can add them to the show notes, and Darko can answer them later. But Darko, before we go into demoing this thing, what is Kiro Crew and why do you think it's worth spending time with it?
Well, hello, Johannes. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on the show. First time on your YouTube channel, so I am excited to get to talk to your audience. So let's kind of talk about what Kiro Crew is. Kiro Crew is this agentic development platform that's ever present and kind of always running. I think to talk about what Kiro Crew is to talk about where Kiro Crew came from. Kiro Crew was a project built internally at AWS by 3 people. It was an open source kind of a agentic assistant in the similar vein as like your OpenClaws and your Hermes. So it was built internally for the purposes of internal folks to be able to build some software, and then that kind of bloomed into something that's obviously a very developer influenced product, but and it bloomed into something that almost 40,000 folks at AWS have been using, that was built by 500 different people. In essence, it is a tool where you can do software development with agents in a very, let's say, non-IDE way, right? Like your typical approaches to Kiro were either the CLI, the IDE, or the web. This thing is kind of like agent first, and like we're working with agents here to build software, right? So
that means that Kiro Crew, it sits as an UI on top of Kiro CLI or Kiro harness, right? And it can be used to interact with a large language model or any large language models that Kiro supports under the hood. And it gives a different perspective and a different UI of actually working with it.
Exactly. It's the back end of it is actually Kiro CLI, so it uses ACP to communicate with the Kiro CLI to do all kinds of things.
What's ACP?
So, ACP, it's the Agent Control Protocol. It's the standardized protocol of how agents or how harnesses communicate with other things. So like, for example, I can use the Kiro CLI's ACP functionality to build in Kiro into something like JetBrains or Obsidian or even my own custom built application. So it's just a standard protocol that a lot of the harnesses out there support, including Codex and Cloud Code as well. So yeah.
Okay, so that means Kiro Crew sits as a UI, and that kind of sits on top of the CLI, which is then used to talk to the LLMs on the backend.
Calling it just a UI would be a little bit of a understatement. It does so much more than a UI. It just uses the Kiro's harness underneath, but it adds so many features and so many little tidbits on top of it that it's kind of hard to put in a single sentence.
So do you see it as an orchestration layer, or do you see it more as a part of your harness?
We were discussing this. Is this an orchestration layer? Is this a development environment? Is this like a autonomous agent? It's kind of a combination of all of those things. It can absolutely orchestrate agents. It can absolutely serve as a development environment for developers, but it's also very autonomous, right? So you could, I think the term we officially used, and I need to go look it up because I remember we having a lot of interesting discussions of how we're gonna talk about this publicly, because it is interesting because it's one of those things that we've used internally, and it kind of makes sense for us internally. But how do you frame it externally? And we use the word workspace, right?
Okay, cool.
So it's a workspace.
Yeah, that means, so if you're saying you use that internally on the AWS side, I think it was announced to being open source last week.
Correct.
I was very fortunate because I was able to get access to the repository about 1.5, maybe 2 weeks ago. That means I also had a look at the raw version of the repository, and like the initial look was, okay, it looks a bit like a Frankenstein, to be honest. The documentation was very AWS focused. There was a lot of internals in it, and they still are. Do you think that's going to be more productized in the future than it is?
So Kiro Crew is basically meant to be an open source project that doesn't keep evolving as developers, as folks out there keep using it, right? So absolutely, it's going to get a lot more polish and everything else, so because it's going to be used by non-Amazonians, right? As an internal product we didn't just ship the internal product, right? We shipped the spirit of an internal product out to developers, and we only did it because we realized how much developers enjoy using Kiro Crew or the equivalent internal name. I don't even know what I can say. Can I say the internal name?
No,
I don't
no,
know.
don't say
No,
it.
I won't say my internal name. The internal name of the product is insert blank here. So yeah, it's we realize how people like to use it, so we released it kind of. I don't want to say as is, but we released it in a relatively rough state. It is perfectly functional, but you can see that it is developer focused. A lot of the features there exist. A lot of the nerdiness exists in this product, and that's kind of what makes me happy about it.
Okay, we'll go into that in a second. Before we go there, one question: does that mean that we're gonna see IDE and CLI being open sourced in a similar messy situation soon, or is that something that you're currently not considering? If you know
I don't
that.
know. Yeah, I don't know of any plans of open sourcing any of these things. I do know that the CLI, the early version CLI, just the front facing CLI was open source, but then this current version, because it was rewritten, is not. So I do not know of any plans to open source one of the others. So although the Kiro ID is based off of the open source code editor, so
Okay, so that
yeah.
would be a question maybe to follow up, because I've got this. I got this question from Christian, who's also a fellow AWS hero, who is not able to join us in the last week,
Okay.
but he wanted to understand that, because that would give a lot of possibilities as well. Now, we talked a lot about this Kiro Crew thing. How does it feel,
Yes.
and how does it look like? Maybe let's do a very short dive into. Okay, this is Kiro Crew, and like maybe answer the first question: does this all run on my laptop, similar to the CLI, or not?
Yeah. So what you're seeing here on my screen right now, this is Kiro Crew, and this instance of Kiro Crew is running on my laptop. So it's as you can see here, a lot of stuff happening here on screen. Your left hand sidebar, your sessions, and the actual session here itself. To answer the question, this one is running on my laptop. This one isn't. This one here is actually running on a little box behind me. I have a little a Linux ARM workstation in a rack behind me. You don't see here, but this is running there as a fully, let's say, independent, but at the same time I can interact with it instance of Kiro Crew. And this one is actually running on a different account here, as you can see, it has less credits on them. But I have a one that's running on my laptop. I have one that's running on there, and I can have multiple more of these running on an EC2 instance, on a equivalent in Azure or a Raspberry Pi or a virtual machine or whatever you want. But it's that's one of the things that kind of lured me in initially, because I can run it in multiple different places. So.
Okay, so that means you can run multiple installations of Kiro Crew in different environments or different boxes. You can access them and run them with individual accounts as well. That gives you the possibility to kind of detach from your up and running laptop the whole time. And that gives you the freedom that you also get with Kiro Web and with Kiro Mobile, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yes. Also,
that is one of the great things. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. And also we see that it uses the same credit model as the CLI and Kiro IDE and Kiro Web uses today, right? So nothing changed over there. And also it currently only supports the Kiro CLI, right? That means we cannot use Claude CLI or anything like that at the current state.
No. As the time of we shipping our products, we shipped it only with a Kiro CLI support. However, it being an open source product, I can expect a pull request from folks out there using this product to be able to add support for the codecs or Claude code harnesses. Like yeah.
That's well, we're gonna see, especially because it uses some special CLI features under the hood, as far as I know, right? And then you cannot directly make it work. At least that was my initial analysis.
I think one of the things that wouldn't work out of the box, and this is actually a feature I was implementing over the weekend, is that if you see here on the top of the screen here, there's this little UI pill, as they call it, that shows my credit usage, right? And it is actually using the built-in, or it was using the built-in Kiro CLI /usage command, and was parsing the output from that so it can display it. So over the weekend, we introduced a fix that it would use the Kiro's API to make that call. In the past, like, that would prevent you from just simply putting in Codex or Cloud Code through ACP for it to work, because, like, for example, that thing would break. However, it is all relatively modular, so you can plug and play all of these things. So again, there are certain elements of the Kiro CLI here that are specific to Kiro CLI, but ultimately the entire inference, the entire thing is happening through ACP. So.
Okay, cool. Makes sense. Now, it looks from a UI perspective a little bit like Cloud Core work. Would you compare it with that?
That was the initial comparison I heard from people. It looks like Cloud Co-work, but basically on the left-hand side, you have your sessions, and this you can see here. I can go through multiple different sessions. You have your prompting here. On top of that, you have like your little sidebar that pops out here if certain things are happening, right? Like your, I don't know, GitHub issues or specific workflows or certain generated artifacts or modified files. So it has this very busy UI, to be honest. I am a fan of this. I do kind of thrive in these kinds of environment. As a CLI user, I'm a fan of the CLI, but like when it comes to like managing multiple sessions, this really, really does work for me. So you're from your typical sessions to like even scheduled tasks to artifacts. Artifacts are basically just like documents and things it generates throughout the sessions, through the access to the knowledge base, and of course, apps as well. Apps are a kind of a very neat feature of Kiro Crew, because it allows you to expand Kiro Crew without necessarily changing Kiro Crew. So from anything like Issue Radar, which is you hook it up to a Git repo and it kind of looks at your pull requests and your issues, and it gives you the ability to kind of, I don't know, investigate specific issues and work on it.
Kiro Crew initially will then ship with sessions, schedule artifacts, and knowledge at the current state, and the apps are the ones that you use to expand Kiro Crew, right?
Yes, exactly.
So that's why
apps are not there by default, right? So and if you look at my other session here, I have slightly less apps here, like see like the only
but and also different ones, right? So
different ones as well. Yes,
got it. But this one has webhooks. Why does this one have webhooks and the others hasn't?
Webhooks. Where do you see webhooks? Am I
left hand side below schedule?
Okay. Yes, this one was actually built from main last night. No, this morning. So I've since I was adding. See, I haven't even seen this. Like, this is, by the way, it's not the hidden. This is in the public repo. So this is available in the on the latest build from main. None of the releases, none of the nightlies or the insider builds. This is literally, I just took the whole repo, built it, and just have it running there. On there, so that's a new feature, and I didn't even realize it was there. So
cool. Sorry for teasing you on that one. It was like just so apparent. Okay, good. So this is most likely gonna be able to have inbound webhooks set up, right? So you can send and control the Kiro Crew from outside. Okay, cool. That makes sense.
Speaking of control, you can control Kiro Crew from the outside by your typical agentic, open source agentic things, like using your phone, right? And as you can see here, there's like Telegram, Discord, Slack, Teams, and all those kinds of things. This one specifically is connected to Telegram. The other one is actually connected to Discord, if I recall correctly. Yes. So you could do those things without webhooks, but webhooks is a thing that's kind of coming in.
Okay, but that means you get access to Kiro Crew running elsewhere or running somewhere directly from the connected channel over here. That means from Discord, from Slack, from Telegram, I can access my chat sessions and also interact with those.
Exactly.
Okay, cool.
So on Saturday, I was actually outside of my home doing something, and I realized that there was this bug with the credit display on Kiro Crew, and I've actually used Telegram as I was somewhere to kind of instructed to investigate the problem and see if we can implement a fix, and kind of there was this back and forth between Kiro Crew, well, that instance of Kiro Crew and me, on like, hey, how can we fix this? What is the problem? Turns out an API is parsed, yada weird kinds of things, but I basically went from like I planned a whole feature to be built, or I submitted an issue and then planned the pull request basically from Telegram, which is fantastic.
Okay, so that means also with the chat features that you can do the same thing that you would usually do with CLI, or what you would potentially do with a session in web or in the IDE. You could directly also, can I also use the spec-driven development portions that we have directly, or is that something we would need to integrate?
feel like I don't know that. I haven't tried the spec-driven approach to it, because there's a spec builder app available here, but I haven't tried it through the CLI. Because in essence, if the feature is available to Kiro Crew as its own internal API calls, it could call all of those things, right? But it's not necessarily, you don't have the same interface to it, because it's still an instant message type of conversation. So
okay, yeah, that makes sense.
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know necessarily if that's a thing.
So let's drive through a Darko workflow with Kiro Crew. What would you do?
Let's do that. So the way I kind of work with this is that, just a typical brand new session for things. Now, one of the things that you don't notice here on these two sessions is that I have another instance of Kiro running on my personal laptop. So this is my work laptop. I have one running on my personal laptop. And the one on my personal laptop actually has a lot more to it than this one. The sole reason is the personal laptop one has access to my extensive collection of notes. I've been collecting notes in Markdown files for the last 5-6 years, right? And everything I do, everything I work on is being noted down. So like when I work with Kiro, when I go ahead and, like, for example, I have a website called Pingdarko.com, right? When I go and add features to it or fix things, I would always keep notes to it. So my typical workflow would be, here's the thing I need to fix. And then I go ahead and I work with Kiro Crew on a new session, and I found this, let's create an issue. I create my own issues on my own repos because I don't know, I just like to have order in that. So I go ahead and create an issue, note down that issue inside of my notes, like my daily notes and whatnot. Work with Kiro Crew to generate a pull request that will address that issue, and of course address it and all those things. So it's kind of like, I like to do things that are external facing, in the sense that fix my code, work on GitHub, do all of those things, but at the same time keep extensive notes on what I do. And the reason those notes exist is because I have a particular way of writing code, particular way of building things. I prefer certain packages, certain things, and then Kiro kind of stores those things in there for future reference and whatnot. So yeah.
So that means Kiro, with reading the notes, being part of the knowledge base, Kiro Crew already knows a bit about Darko, right?
Correct. Yes, the knowledge base basically creates like specific artifacts, and it's actually it's a vector database. So it has a bunch of like embeddings there, and it's easily searchable for an LLM. It's not just parsing through a bunch of text like in a traditional manner. So it knows a bunch of things. But one of the great things about Kiro Crew is that Kiro Crew actually has the capacity to just learn. So it has this whole memory feature, which was kind of like one of the default features it came in with. Basically, every couple of hours of idle time, it goes ahead and just scans through all of the conversations you had in the past, all the sessions, and it generates lessons. Now, lessons are a lot more immediate than your knowledge bases, right? Knowledge base, it needs to go and search through it. Lessons are kind of like already available to it, and I'm not saying they're available in the context, but they're a lot more present than the knowledge base. So these are automatically created. Knowledge base is something that you kind of technically manually create. So a knowledge base can be anything. It can be as long as it's a file. It can be read as a knowledge item. So Kiro kind of starts to blend my manual lessons and my manual knowledge inside of my Obsidian notes, and also the things it learns here. So it is great. And again, since it's running on like a box in my home, I can just kind of do whatever I want with it. So
cool. Your pingdarko.com page, is that something that you actively develop?
Yeah, I mean, it's a simple project that I built because I just need people to be able to reach out to me. Pingdarko.com is literally a place where people can leave me a message. But yes, I actively developed it.
That means if I now tell you that I hated that you don't have a light mode, we could just get Kiro to implement that now.
Yeah,
let's do it. Come on, because you have only dark mode and I'm a light mode guy. So
let's see what we can do. I wonder how to approach this. Maybe can we do? No, let's do this. Okay, new and do. Let's on Pingdarko. Let's do on Pingdarko.com. Let's create an issue and a PR to implement light mode in the UI. So basically, it's great enough. It has it knows it has access to my GitHub using the GH command line utility, so it can clone, can do all kinds of stuff it needs to. So it goes, finds the repo, and one of the things you can see here, it prompts you for like, should it run this command, right? By default, it's gonna do that, right?
Of course. I think that I could connect it to other things as GitHub as well, right? I could teach it to use GitLab. I can teach it to use Jira or something like that as well.
100%, right? Again, it's running as a CLI on a workstation somewhere, and it's gonna do whatever it needs to do. Certain apps only have functionality. For example, the issue radar here on the side, you can only connect it to repositories hosted on GitHub and GitLab. However, this is specifically for this app. However, the session itself doesn't really care. It's just gonna do stuff. So
well, but
it's
it
gonna
needs
go ahead.
access to the relevant repositories and stuff like that.
Yes, exactly. Of course.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. That makes sense.
Of course. And as this is doing, let me just kind of talk about a little bit about the thing that popped up about the trust and should it do it, right? By default, Kiro Crew will not do commands for you, right? Unless you go ahead and here like do autopilot and stuff like that, right? So by default, it's going to start asking you a question. However, there's a different levels of trust you can add to it, like your normal, where it kind of Kiro prompts you before doing anything, read only, where it's not going to ask you for anything reading, but it's going to ask you about writing stuff, and the trusting. Basically, it's going to run, well, everything. Well, not everything. Most of the things without asking you, right? The only thing it will not run is the things that it's kind of prevented from doing by your security settings. If you do YOLO, well, then it's going to do it for every chat.
Where are the security settings that I can
So security settings is one of those things that this is, we are proud of the product because we shipped it with a lot of sane security defaults. Basically, it prevents Kiro from doing specific things. And I'll show this to you on here. So, like, it will block specific sensitive paths. It will do MCP input validation. It will run certain things inside of an open source operating system sandbox. There's a lot of different things there that are kind of preventing you from running. There's like additional denied commands. Like I actually have disabled this, all of the built-in denies, because I don't know. It just works better. But like it will actually like prevent you from like running Kiro Crew restart, right?
Okay.
Or it will prevent you from like using AWS 3 CP to copy stuff to S3. So it has a bunch of these different things built in that are, let's say, sane defaults. And you can, of course, add your stuff there as well. And if you look at like another example of this thing, I told it to restart Kiro Crew, and it would get denied, right? So like it would be blocked by security policy here. Just like the agent wanted to do it, the LLM decided, yeah, I'm going to run this command, but then the security policy of the Kiro Crew harness or the workspace just said, nope, stop, you can't. Okay, back to this. Something's happening. Well, no, it's still doing stuff. So it's adding a bunch of features to it. Sure.
Did it already create the branch that we could look at that on GitHub? And I think it did, right? It also created an issue, I would assume. So the branch is created. I can see that.
Yes, I don't know if an issue has been still created yet. So let's see. It's still kind of going through it. It has been a branch has been created, but probably just local branch and not a remote branch. So it is kind of doing all of these things, but it's running GitHub commands right now. I think it actually implemented a bunch of these stuff already before even like working on it.
Before working on GitHub, yeah, exactly, makes sense.
Yeah. That's something I potentially need to teach Kiro Crew a little bit more, is because it tends to shoot from the hip a lot more than I'm a fan of. So for example, it will do a lot. It will do stuff before I kind of like, I like to ask it for a thing. I like it to explain to me what it's going to do, and then I tell it to go do it. But as you can see here, even if I told it, create an issue and a PR to implement, and it just went and did that.
But this is something that you could potentially kind of add into the steering files that you can set on each of these boxes, right? So let's go again to the settings. I think I saw steering files that you could use.
Yeah, you have like steering files here on like on
exactly.
Basically conventions from whatever, right? So you could do this, right? You can create a steering file that for every project says ask me things. Like you can again, steering files are just text documents that are injected into the running agent's prompt as it's running. So yeah,
and they are being read in the same way that Kiro CLI and also Kiro IE uses them. So the steering files are shared, I think, right? Which is
exactly.
Skills are also shared here, global ones, or are they per project?
Skills are basically shared across the things. Basically, agents can load skills when they need to load skills, right? So there is a certain way of like limiting these things per agent, right? Because you can have multiple different, crews in this case. Like this is my main software development agent, right? And this is the one that by default I use, right? But so you can set these things up for them. But yes, skills are there. What's the great thing about skills is that like here's a skill that is pending review, right? So basically, as I was working with Kiro Crew, it decided that, hey, listen, you need an additional skill. We keep running into this thing. We need to generate some sort of a skill that's what we're going to be in the future for this. For example, this one is monitor GitHub's pull request CI pipeline cross outages. There was a unfortunate outage last week from GitHub, and there was where I was trying to deploy a fix to Kiro Crew. It couldn't pass because there was a runner outage. So what Kiro Crew did is it proactively monitored the outage before attempting to check the CI. So it generated for itself a little
skill
here.
Cool.
Yeah, and I can approve it or not. So yeah. So
does it also support the agent plugin thing that was announced last week already, or not yet? Like,
as far as I know, it's not supported yet. It's not supported yet. I know that's a feature that came to a bunch of Kiro products, but I don't know if this is supported here. But to be honest, I expect the support to just kind of land in quite soon.
Yeah, I guess so too.
Yeah, so it's been I've been an active contributor to this project, and I know you were also kind of I saw your name in the contributions, trying to add some stuff. So
well, I did what I always do when looking at these kind of repositories. I try to understand the documentation, and if I'm unhappy, I try to improve it. Right. So I hope you found it better now than it was before. I also added a small architecture overview to the Kiro Crew repository because I found that was missing, and then I understood a little bit better how it actually works.
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad folks are contributing to it, and I think there's like over 50 contributors now publicly, so that's always good.
And so it's fast iterating as well, right? So there's a lot of movements as well. Now, you said I can use apps to extend Kiro Crew. What does that mean?
Correct.
Like I can extend them, and then I do not need to contribute them back. I can build something for myself, or how does that work?
So apps are basically toggleable features to Kiro, right? Like you can think of them as plugins. We haven't called them plugins; they're apps, but basically there are additional things you can enable and install on top of Kiro Crew, right? So instead of just changing the core functionality of the product, you can add basically additional things to it, right? From that issue radar I told you, where it kind of monitors my issue on a repository and kind of makes this wonderful UI where I can investigate and trigger additional features, like, I don't know, upgrading my CDK from this version to this version. I can just hit this thing and it just generates a new conversation straight from that thing with additional context and whatever it needs. Fantastic, right? But also like to things like a file browser, right? Like there's no built-in file browser into Kiro Crew. So folks out there who really wanted to have Kiro Crew, yeah, absolutely you can by just using this little.
Can you share them then? Like, can you share the apps with others, or is this something that you built for yourself and it only is available locally?
So you can share them. Like these are available to any Kiro users, right? But you can also kind of like create your own external registry of an application. Currently, there's a single registry out there, and that's the Kiro Crew official registry. But you can absolutely install the application from a path somewhere else, right? It's not like a thing that's closed and walled off. So I do expect like organizations and customers to have their own like dedicated repository of Kiro Crew apps so they can add features to it, right? So.
Okay, makes sense. So it's highly extensible. What about, I think our session is still running, right?
Yes.
What about that Kiro Crew restart thing? Does that mean that Kiro Crew itself can improve itself, and then you could actually use that to create a pull request for Kiro Crew? Is that the way that it works, or how is this being done internally?
Kiro Crew restart is just a command that restarts the Kiro Crew gateway, the thing that's running underneath this. Because while this is just the Electron UI, underneath it there's a gateway, right? Like the way I can connect to this is by basically SSHing to that machine. Well, Kiro Crew creates an SSH channel from here to that machine and all of those things. So yes, Kiro Crew can absolutely pull request itself and can actually do a lot of the fixes I made to Kiro were made straight with Kiro Crew, right? Because I was adding features to it and fixing bugs and diagnosing issues I ran into, and it would basically clone the repo locally, make the changes, and I can build Kiro Crew locally and run it again. The problem is when I try to do that remotely, Kiro Crew will not restart itself. At least my security policy on this box prevents Kiro Crew from restarting itself.
Okay.
I could disable that and it could do that, but basically what it needed me to do is I needed to get home, SSH into that box, Kiro Crew restart, and it had a brand new version on it. So
Okay, and I think what I saw is that there is also a web UI
yes,
that
absolutely.
you could access. Would that mean if you now access the other box that we're talking about, and you would access the web UI for that?
Yes. By the way, I just want
that-
to show you something.
Yeah,
As this
sorry.
is going on, it's actually opening up a playwright and just kind of building the feature.
Oh,
into it,
really?
just so you know.
Cool.
Yes. So yes, I could technically could technically use a web UI on the other thing, because again, the Electron app itself is literally just wrapping the web interface. It's just a
Okay.
React application or a Next.js application underneath. And what the only thing here is the UI is always, I think, hard code restricted to localhost.
Okay.
So like you can only access the local host, hence the SSH tunnel. So what you do is you SSH tunnel a local port to a port there, which is 5476, or whatever you want, whichever one you want to set, and then you connect to it using like a local host URL, even though it's on that side. So that's how it's set up right now. You can, of course, I believe there's a setting you can change for it to be available for anything. But by default, it comes with exclusively local host access.
Okay, but theoretically, I can change that to be so. Like, what is Johannes thinking of? I want to run this on my Raspberry.
You can absolutely run it on Raspberry Pi.
Yeah, exactly. And then I want to access the web UI that Kiro Crew has, and then use it with that, right? And I think that's what I was like thinking of. If I could do that, right, that would be pretty simple for me. Because of some restrictions that I have on my PC that I'm using over here, right? And I think that would be beneficial. So maybe that's something that I need to try out after this recording to just see if I can get this to run.
Yeah, absolutely you can. And again, again, by default, it starts with localhost. I remember I was trying, and this is before it was launching. Before it launched, I tried to add a feature. Well, I tried to just expose the port without it being tied down to localhost. And back then, I think there was no setting you can change to do that. So you have to SSH tunnel and do the whole dance. But that may have changed since then. So you should definitely be able to do that. If you're not able to change it using just like a configuration item on the box itself, you can always just SSH tunnel into it, and it will still provide you the web UI. So you don't have to access it through the SSH necessarily.
Cool. And we can see the playwright test running.
Yeah. So it's kind of running by itself, and it's doing stuff. And if you see in the back, it's there's probably things going on. It's very all of these things, and I found it to be very, very kind of good at what it does, and it's a very, very niche tool, I must say. As a longtime Kiro user myself, this kind of added another layer of just kind of Kiro goodness. And again, Kiro Crew itself doesn't cost anything. You need a Kiro subscription, and that's it. So yeah.
Can you talk a bit about the token usage that it kind of consumes? Like I saw in the background that you don't really directly see which actions are taking how much tokens. Is that something that you feel would be valuable? Do you see yourself using more tokens, or doesn't it matter because you work for AWS and you're token maxing anyway?
It matters to me a lot because here's the thing. I have this one is running on my personal account, so as you can see, I pay $100 a month for my personal Kiro subscription. So I am absolutely not token maxing. And the Kiro Crew here, I have a different. This is an internal AWS account, so I have a little bit more tokens here. It after every session, it tells you how much credit it uses. I'm not sure if you can see it here, but like there's a 56.2 credits used. So there is. It shows you at the end of it how much tokens credits it used, but also depending on which model you choose. My I don't know. I haven't measured the amount of tokens it's using compared to like just using pure Kiro CLI. It is a lot more autonomous, so you will see it a lot more looping and trying a lot more things. So there is a potential for it to like burn through more credits because it just kind of keeps on doing. You can even set up like a little goal here, and that every X amount of time it just keeps nudging it to check for a thing or whatever, right? So this is a great way for like check for a pull request. That may cause a bit of a token burn. But my hope is, and this is hopefully coming soon, I can't say anything publicly, but a lot more of the open weight model, so we can do a little bit more of a token optimization maxing, if anything. So
and obviously we need to say credit optimization maxing.
Credit optimization.
We're using credits in
sure.
Kind of, right?
Exactly.
That becomes pretty interesting if you are hopefully able to connect to hosted remote sessions one day with this thing, right? Where you would not need to make sure that you have an EC2 instance or any Raspberry or something like that running, where you could connect to a backend, potentially running on Agent Core or something like that. It would be amazing to actually get that done. So while we're still waiting for this, can you click on the second link that I sent you in the chat? I think this is a very good overview to kind of talk through the process, what Kiro Crew is doing under the hood, right? This one is one of the diagrams that I let Kiro contribute, right? It talks a bit about you as the user. Okay, you're talking with one of the different services. We just said we can talk with the Kiro Crew Electron UI. We can use with web. Then it goes into the gateway. From there, it goes down into the different parts that you see down there, right? I think the most important part is that agent process, where for me it becomes, I think, the gateway being the orchestrator of the different CLI sessions and also making sure that they work together. Where are the different agents being controlled? Does that mean that in that gateway we are making sure that the different agents that are running work together locally or on the running instance, or how is that done?
Well, so the gateway itself is kind of the thing that's behind this specific UI, and we talk about this as the whole web interface, or Electron in this case. The agents are running on that gateway. A gateway is this process that kind of runs on that, and each session has its own agent spawn and can spawn multiple agents itself, right? Like that's kind of the whole thing. The gateway itself is doing the whole agent orchestration from tasks to your individual sessions. But within an individual session, you can actually ask it to, hey, I don't know, spawn a bunch of agents to do a certain things, or it will know when to spawn a bunch of agents to do certain things. So it does all of those things within a session, and that's all managed by the Kiro gateway process. That's kind of the core process of itself. So that's what everything here else connects with it. So, well, from your different surfaces in this case.
Yeah, cool. Pretty interesting. Now, on our session, we just saw that it got stuck for 75 seconds waiting for, I think, the tests to complete. I think this is something that we would need to teach him as well, right, in the future, to just ignore that and just continue to do. But we already saw pingdarko.com in Light UI. Will you ever ship that for real?
I will ship it after today, because I'm a fan of switching modes. So 100% I will switch it. I'm not a fan of this button here because it's too verbose. It shouldn't say switch to light mode. There should be a little moon and a sun. But I will ship this thing once we are ready. Once it fixes it.
And a next feature would be to be able to switch the language as well of this beautiful pingdarko.com. I think this is
wonderful. Yes.
This is where we can use the session to do a bunch of fun as well, exactly. Right? Because not everybody speaks English these days, you know.
That is fair. That is fair. I must say, like, again, with all the coding assistants, one of the things that kind of they enabled me to do is being able to build stuff that I wouldn't necessarily build, but I kind of need, right? Pingdarko.com is like a silly little thing I build just to, when people want to reach out to me, I just give them pingdarko.com and that's it. But
it's like it's like me. I built letmeask.app, which is kind of something like, don't ask me, ask ChatGPT, right? It generates you the link. If you remember, let me Google it for you. It's just a useless thing, but you build it because it's so easy and so fun to actually do, right?
Exactly. So it's great, and I think Kiro Crew has been like my favorite tool, and I've been using, of course, Kiro for a long time. I've been using Codex. I've been using. I weirdly enough never used Claude Code. I am one of those few people that has never used Claude Code. I've used Open Code and all those things, but never Claude Code.
Okay, so I'm using
So
Cloud Code and Cloud Cowork, and I can compare that with Kiro pretty well, but that's maybe something for a different story. For today, Darko, can you explain me why I, as a today Kiro CLI user, should switch? And then, as a second question, why I, as a Kiro IDE user, should switch to Kiro Crew? Where's the difference?
there's no reason for you to switch. Hear me out. And if you are a Kiro CLI user and you prefer the CLI usage, power to you, right? Myself, I have almost never touched a Kiro ID unless I'm building something very important and I need spec-driven development for it. So for if you're a kind of a passionate Kiro CLI user and you love to live in the command line, that's what you do. Great, keep doing it. It's probably going to be great. However, if you want to add additional features on top of Kiro, such as multiple agents, sessions, memory, knowledge management, apps, security built-in features, schedule tasks, all of those things. And you want this to be in a nice little neat looking package, I do highly suggest Kiro Crew, because not only is it like an open source tool that you can contribute to, and we do accept pull requests, it kind of feels nerdy. It feels developer. So it kind of it scratches all of the developer itches and that I like. And it's kind of hard for me to explain this to people in like in a single sentence or even a single video, but like as I keep using it, I find these little thing it does. It's like, yes, I wanted you to do that. Thank you, right? It feels so good for it. So it doesn't cost you anything to switch from Kiro CLI or Kiro ID to try out Kiro Crew. So I do highly encourage folks out there to just give it a shot. And if it's not for you, it is not for you. That's perfectly fine.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't know. I saw multiple demos of Kiro Crew already. Johannes, looking at this, it feels, as you said at the beginning, very nerdy. Maybe I'm not that kind of a nerd, right? So
Maybe,
what could convince me, as me not being a nerd, to try that out?
What would convince you is its ability to kind of learn from you and kind of grow as you grow. I think that's one of the things here, because a lot of the times when you're working with coding assistants, you kind of have to reiterate yourself. You have to kind of add stuff to it. You have to instinctively or knowledgeably add like a skill or a prompt file or a steering file for it to be able to follow you. This thing kind of just learns as we work together. So it is a big deal for me, because I invest a lot of time in having my agents know what I do or how I should work stuff, and here it kind of picks it up for me, and the longer I use it, the better it is for me. So I think that is one of the big deals here, and I don't know, it feels so nice. It feels so nicer for me to be able to kind of like grow the tool along with me. And you could also, like, it's not stuck to your desktop. You can export this configuration, move it there to another system and whatnot. Hopefully in the future we have the ability for Kiro Crew to run remotely without you having to worry about that. That's my little ask from the Kiro Crew team. But yeah, as of now, it is just a delightful tool to use.
But that requires me to have my memory everything locally, right? Also, it requires me to persist my memory and stuff like that. And I think when Kiro Autonomous Agent, now Kiro Web, was announced last year, a promise was that Kiro Web would directly solve that. Are we not there yet with Kiro Web?
Kiro Web has a bunch of those features. Kiro Web has memory and has knowledge management as well, right? That's 100% for sure. However, Kiro Web is kind of a it sounds bad if I call it like a one-trick pony, but it's a one-trick pony. It's like you hook it up to a repo, you tell it what you want to do, and it just goes ahead and does it, right? Which, to be honest, 90% of the use cases, that's fine. However, this gives you a lot more like local control and whatnot, so additional features, bells and whistles that it has. Kiro Web doesn't have all of those things yet.
It's a different type of animal, right? And I've been testing and using Kiro Web and mobile a lot. And as you just said, like it's a kind of golden pony where things are going to always work. I expect Kiro Crew to be a little bit more problematic in that sense. Have you faced any trouble where Kiro Crew was not working for you for hours or for days, like GitHub last week?
No, had no issues with it. Again, I've been running Kiro Crew basically nonstop over the last the last couple of weeks. So I've been absolutely token maxing here, but I had no issues with it. The Kiro service, knock on wood, was working fine. So which is really great. It doesn't stop me in my tracks, and it just kind of kept working on certain things autonomously and checking my pull requests and checking my issues. So yeah, I was like, I felt so comfortable in certain things, and partly why I felt comfortable contributing back to the Kiro Crew program, Kiro Crew project, is that you should, by the way, folks watching this video, go to the Kiro Crew Git repo and check the way it's built. Like, check the CI on it. It is fantastic. Like, the way it kind of prevents you from making mistakes is fantastic. Like, there's so many checks, so many tests, so many reviewers happening there that I feel very comfortable just having Kiro work on a problem and keep checking the pull requests, keep checking the comments on the pull request and just iterating on it. And it's
and that's also what's happening right now. I think Kiro is waiting for the PR checks to pass for the.
I think so. So if I would go to github.com/Darko, Pingdarko.com, I think there's going to be a pull request here. Yeah, so like what's happening here, there's a little CI thing going on. Yeah, just waiting for the test to pass.
Yeah, it's gonna run the tests again, I guess, and then verify that the tests are correct before you can actually merge it, right? And Kiro Crew is smart enough to wait until those are passed before it tells you that it was successful. That's pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, Darko, we are kind of getting to the end of what we had planned from a recording perspective. So tell me, what should people do after this session?
People should go to github.com/Kiro. Let me do a little
Kiro.dev, I think it is.
Kiro.dev. I think it's Kiro. Is it Kiro.dev? Git Kiro Crew. Come on.
That's why.
Yes, Kiro.dev/Kiro Crew. You should definitely go there, drop it a star, and ultimately, I want you to try this product, right? Like, if you have a Kiro subscription, it's just as simple as that. If you do not have a Kiro subscription and would love to try this project and you don't want to pay a subscription, reach out to me on social media. Reach out to me on pingdarko.com. I may have some credits to give to people. So definitely want folks to try it out. And just ultimately, I want you to tell me and tell us what you think. If you feel strongly that you should add a feature, have Kiro add a feature. That kind of makes sense. And again, we accept pull requests. This is a tool definitely meant for it to be expanded on and built on, and it's open source, it's transparent under the Apache 2.0 policy, so 2.0 license. So yeah, go there, check it out, download it, try it out, see if it delights you, right? That's the whole thing. Like when the product was launching, I was like not really sold on it because the way it was presented to me, like, oh, it's an agentic thing that runs somewhere, and I'm like, is it OpenClaw? But then when I tried it, it just kind of delighted me as I was working on it. So yeah, I just a big fan of it. So.
And if you have watched the session until this time, roughly 40 minutes after we started, you will most probably know by now that Darko is a distinguished engineer, I think, at AWS.
Oh, distinguished developer advocate. Very distinguished
developer advocate, and we can see that in the background. Congratulations on that, my friend.
Thank
you will most likely also know Darko from all of the Twitch shows that he has been doing in the past. I think there's a weekly Kiro show that you often run as well.
Correct. Yes.
So if you're eager to learn more, we have some of the links on how to get and how to reach Darko in the show notes. And obviously now you also have pingdarko.com in light mode once this video goes out. So we're going to wait for that. Darko, thank you very, very much for this time. It was an amazing session. And yeah, looking forward to see what the Kiro Crew team and the Kiro team overall have to bring for us in the future, and how you have been listening to the session now extend Kiro Crew to make it more successful for your own workflow. So please contribute, give feedback to the team. They love bad feedback because that's the only way they can improve. So just any kind of feedback helps. And if you just want to shout at someone, pingdarko.com is your home.
Thank you so much.
Darko, have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Hannes. Bye.